You know what's really interesting? Players who have a single good outing. So good that they become basically legends in the world of sports. These guys who have these singular moments of divine action, only to completely drop off the face of the planet afterwards.
Finley right here. And they found it. And he breaks an all-time Packer record.
There are several known one-year wonders in the professional football world. Derek Anderson, Ickey Woods, and Greg Cook come to mind. While these one-year wonders enjoyed a full season in which practically everything fell into place for them, several NFL players only got to enjoy the spotlight for a single contest. That's right, we're not talking about one-year wonders, we're talking about one-game wonders. So, here are the 10 biggest one-game wonders in NFL history. David TYREE. This is why you gotta love sports. A man with 54 career receptions for 650 yards and 4 touchdowns is also responsible for the greatest play in Super Bowl history. TYREE earned first-team All-Pro and Pro Bowl nods in 2005 for his play on the special teams. As a wide receiver, however, he was far from an impactful player. That was until the day of Super Bowl 42, where his New York Giants played the 18-0 New England Patriots. In the 2007 regular season, TYREE only hauled in 4 passes for 35 yards. Nonetheless, he earned his way to the starting lineup for the big game. Early in the fourth quarter, TYREE scored the Giants' first touchdown of the game on a 5-yard pass from Eli Manning to put them up 10-7. And yet, that fourth quarter go-ahead touchdown wasn't even close to being TYREE's biggest moment of that game. You all know what we're talking about by now. With Pro Bowl safety Rodney Harrison all over him, TYREE jumped up and grabbed the football, successfully pinning it to his helmet to secure the catch. The 32-yard reception gave the Giants a fresh set of downs instead of what should have been 4th and long. 4 plays later, Manning lofted the game-winning touchdown to Plaxico Burress with just 35 seconds remaining and ended the Pats' bid for a perfect season. Put himself in NFL and Super Bowl lore forever. Unlikely Super Bowl hero if I've ever seen one. Timmy Smith. Smith barely lasted 3 seasons in the NFL. He suited up for just a total of 22 games, 21 of them being with Washington over the 1987 and 88 seasons. And he played 1 game for the Dallas Cowboys in 1990. Smith's career totals: 602 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, 9 receptions, and get this, 4 fumbles. And yet, the guy is a legend in Washington. Why? Oh, you know, because he picked the most opportune time to have his best NFL game during Super Bowl 22 against the Denver Broncos. In that game, Smith rushed for a Super Bowl record 204 yards. And he added 2 touchdowns en route to a 42-10 blowout victory for Washington. Not bad for a rookie. If it weren't for a legendary performance from Doug Williams, Smith would have easily won Super Bowl MVP honors. Smith, however, never built off that career game. He recorded just 470 rushing yards in 1988, didn't play at all in 1989, and played the 1 game for Dallas in 1990 before he found himself out of the league for good. But hey, 60 minutes of fame is better than nothing. Matt Flynn. Oh yeah, remember him? Okay, so Flynn actually had several good games for the Packers, going 3-3 as their starter over the 2010, 2011, and 2013 seasons. He had 1 all-time great record-setting performance that even Bart Starr, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers never accomplished in Green Bay. With the number 1 seed locked up, the Packers sat MVP Aaron Rodgers for their meaningless Week 17 home tilt against the Detroit Lions. And yet, the fans at Lambeau Field still more than got their money's worth. Flynn completed 31 passes for 480 yards and 6 touchdowns in a 45-41 win. The yardage and touchdown totals were both franchise single-game records. Rodgers, of course, threw for precisely 480 yards as well in a Week 2 2013 win against Washington. Rodgers would also match Flynn's record of 6 touchdown passes twice, once in Week 6 of 2012 against the Houston Texans, and again in Week 10 of 2014 against the arch-rival Chicago Bears. Flynn posted those numbers in his 2nd NFL start. It was enough to earn him a 3-year, $26 million contract from the Seattle Seahawks in 2012 free agency. But of course, some rookie named Russell Wilson wound up winning the starting job. And Flynn never came close to that magical 2011 performance again throughout the final years of his career. LaShawn Johnson. Johnson played 5 seasons in the NFL, suiting up for a total of 62 games. Those came with the Packers, Giants, and Arizona Cardinals. For his career, Johnson had 955 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns on 253 carries. In a Week 4, 1996 game against his Cardinals and the New Orleans Saints, however, Johnson pieced together one of the greatest rushing performances in franchise history. The game saw Johnson rush for 214 yards and 2 touchdowns on just 21 carries. He wound up averaging an incredible 10.19 yards per rush attempt. Unfortunately, that was the lone game of his career in which Johnson reached at least 100 rushing yards. Jerome Harrison. Harrison was a 5th-round draft choice of the Cleveland Browns in 2006. He saw very limited playing time in his first 3 seasons, recording 1 touchdown on 77 total carries over that period. But Harrison would put his name in the franchise's record books when his team visited the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium in Week 15 of the 2009 season. That day, Harrison torched the Kansas City defense with a ridiculous 286 rushing yards, the most ever in Browns history, and all 3 scores came in the second half. The third one came with just 44 seconds left, and it held up as the game-winning score in Cleveland's thrilling 41-34 victory. Of course, Harrison never got anywhere close to looking like a Hall of Famer again after that special day. Unfortunately, a brain tumor forced him to retire in 2011, though Harrison thankfully made a full recovery. Harrison's 286 rushing yards are the 3rd most ever in NFL history. Only Adrian Peterson's 296 yards during a 2007 contest and Jamal Lewis's 295 from 2003 are ahead of him. Hard to imagine anyone coming close to either of these 3 totals again. Jeff Janis. The 2014 7th-round pick only played 4 NFL seasons. For his career, Janis only had 17 catches for 200 yards and 1 touchdown in 51 games, which spanned from 2014 to 2017. But like several other folks on this list, Janis had his best career game in the playoffs during a 2015 NFC Divisional Round game against the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona led by 7 with 55 seconds remaining, and they had Rodgers at his mercy. Green Bay was facing a 4th and 20 situation from their own 40-yard line without any timeouts, and launched a 60-yard pass to Janis to keep the season alive. And 1 month after the Miracle in Motown catch by Richard Rodgers, Janis answered the call on yet another desperate heave from A-Rod. That sent the game into overtime, but Rodgers and Green Bay never saw the ball. That's because Larry Fitzgerald scored on Arizona's first possession of overtime to give them the win. Still, it was an unlikely yet spectacular outing by the little-known Janis. He finished that contest with 7 catches for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. Unfortunately for him and Packers Nation, Fitzgerald had to spoil the party. Sylvester Morris. Several knee injuries derailed an extremely promising career for Morris, but the Chiefs' 21st overall pick from 2000 needed just 1 game to flash his potential to the world. In a Week 3 2000 home game against the San Diego Chargers, Morris enjoyed a ridiculously insane performance. He caught 6 passes for 112 yards and 3 touchdowns in a 42-10 blowout victory. Those would be the only 3 touchdowns of Morris's career, and the game marked just one of his 2 100-yard performances. Morris finished the year with 48 catches for 678 yards and just those 3 touchdowns. Morris could have been a star for all we know. But, as noted above, the knee injury woes prevented him from building off a solid rookie campaign. He signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 2004 offseason, but he sadly suffered a torn ACL in minicamp, which ultimately led to the end of his playing career. Quentin Griffin. With the Clinton Portis era over in Denver, Quentin Griffin was given the keys to the Denver Broncos RB1 duties in 2004. Griffin, a 4th-round draft choice in 2003, sure looked like the next great Denver running back for at least 1 game. In the season opener against the Chiefs, Griffin went toe-to-toe with superstar Priest Holmes, who finished with 151 rushing yards and 3 scores. Well, Griffin outdid him with 156 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns of his own. He also caught a touchdown pass from Jake Plummer, guiding the home team to a 34-24 victory. Unfortunately, Griffin's campaign ended after 6 games when he suffered an ACL tear. He accumulated 311 rushing yards before the injury. Griffin would never play in the NFL again. The Broncos released him before the start of the 2005 season. The Chiefs signed Griffin in 2006, but he was released before ever playing a game for them. A tryout for the Saskatchewan Roughriders of the Canadian Football League also didn't amount to anything. Griffin looked like a future star in that 2004 season opener, but it unfortunately marked the lone productive game of his short-lived NFL career. Clint Longley. This man's NFL career lasted 3 years. He spent the 1974 and 75 seasons with the Cowboys as Roger Staubach's understudy, and 1 year with the Chargers in 1976. Longley appeared in 9 games over his 3-year career, but he only made 2 starts, one with the Cowboys and one with the Chargers. Longley's lone start with Dallas took place in an unforgettable 1974 Thanksgiving home game against Washington. Staubach had to leave the game, but Longley replaced Staubach and led Dallas to 14 unanswered points after trailing 16-3. Dwayne Thomas's 19-yard touchdown put Washington back up, game-winning 50-yard touchdown pass with just 28 seconds remaining, with 203 passing yards and 2 touchdowns in a 24-23 Cowboys win. Obviously, there was still no replacing Roger the Dodger at quarterback. Longley sought a trade, not wanting to stick around as the understudy anymore. He sucker punched Staubach in an infamous training camp incident, forcing the latter to get stitches on his face.
I was putting on my pads, and all of a sudden he just hit me from the left side. I didn't see what happened at all. He mentioned that I kicked some chairs and provoked him, which is just an outright lie. There was nothing said or nothing done. It was premeditated. Evidently it had been simmering all day, and some of the things that took place during the day kind of were warnings, which I wish I would have known about. Of course, it was a gutless punch. I had nothing I could do. By the time I recovered, I had slammed my head against the scale there and cut my forehead. His punch just dazed me. It really didn't do a lot of damage. The scales, what did the damage to my head, it cut my head, and of course I recovered and went after him. By that time, of course, I was grabbed by Ed Jones, D.D. Lewis, and a lot of my teammates, and I guess he picked the locker room because he knew someone would grab me after what he did, because of course as a human being, when someone does something like that, that's to me very gutless, you want to react and get back, and that's the honest version. There was no provocation at all. He just took a punch where he knew I couldn't defend myself, and I couldn't. Anytime you're not looking, it's very easy to hit someone as hard as you can.
Longley was then out of the NFL less than 3 years after his Thanksgiving heroics. Jonas Gray. Only the legendary Bill Belichick would bench a player and never give him the chance to shine again because he overslept and missed a practice. Any diehard New England Patriots fan knows the Jonas Gray story by now. Gray entered a Week 11 2014 road game against the Indianapolis Colts with 0 career touchdowns. But of course, Belichick threw a wrench into the Colts' game plan by starting the little-known Notre Dame product. Gray absolutely shredded the Colts defense. He accounted for 24 of the Patriots' 42 points in a 42-20 blowout victory. But Gray would oversleep and miss a practice the following week, firmly inserting himself into Bill Belichick's doghouse. He would see very little playing time going forward, as the Patriots made LeGarrette Blount the lead back the rest of the way, and they would eventually go on to win Super Bowl 49 against the Seattle Seahawks. Gray did win a Super Bowl ring, sure, but he was practically done as a pro football player soon after. The Patriots released Gray before the 2015 season. He saw limited action with the Miami Dolphins and Jacksonville Jaguars that year and was out of the league for good by 2016. 201 of his 588 yards came in that Sunday night victory against the Colts, as did 80% of his career rushing touchdowns. Classic Belichick. But who do you think is the biggest one-game wonder in NFL history? Join us in the comments section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.